Alright, let's just like turn off that light over here. As you can see my whole body proportion, and as you can see, it kind of sucks. I got really stubby legs, unfortunately. As a person who works out, I gotta say, if anybody comes up to you and starts talking about that they work out, that this is their routine, that this is the stuff they eat before working out, and this is the stuff they eat after working out, just punch them in the face. I'm begging you, because if you don't punch them in the face then, it's going to be pretty awkward punching them in the face later, because quite frankly, the conversation that will follow them saying that they work out is going to be one of the most boring conversations that you'll ever have. Most of the people that I talk to in life do not work out. None of my family works out. None of my friends work out. I think I'm the only person who works out amongst the people that I talk to. And thankfully that has led to me not having this habit of talking about my workout and my regime and whatnot. Thankfully, I have not become that person, but I do see these people once in a while at the gym. They'll just talk about the protein powder they use, the types of like chicken breasts they eat. And I'm just like, man, they think other people don't have, other things in their lives that they would rather be doing than talking to you about working out and being fit and miserable. I think as a species, we always try to be very interesting. And, people who talk about working out, they think that's interesting because that could be like the most interesting part of themselves, at least in their heads. And that sort of leads us to being like forcing ourselves to be interesting once in a while. I think I've definitely been there multiple times. I think everybody has this, and I hope everybody has this because I don't want to be alone on this. I have a set of jokes that I go to. I have a little mental crate in my head, a little joke crate that I have, and I'll once in a while, every 5 minutes, maybe 10, I'll shoot one out in a conversation, and sometimes it'll land, sometimes it'll not, and when they land, when the jokes actually do land, I'm not even sure if they're laughing because if it's actually funny, or if they're just being nice. I think this is like a grape seed. I'm not sure why it's on the ground. I'm just probably gonna throw it away and never find it ever again until 3 months later. When I was in the US earlier this year, there was a joke that I constantly went to whenever somebody asked me where I was from. And I would always say, "Oh, I'm from Korea, the good one." And they'll laugh, but it was the kind of laugh that's saying, that's cute, that's kind of cute. And unfortunately, I was not smart enough to understand that was the context of their laugh, so I thought I was being the funniest person ever. Yeah, sometimes we need to check ourselves once in a while. Before you say the joke, just imagine somebody else telling you that joke, and if it's a cute joke, it's best not to say it. Whenever I talk about anything somewhat Western culture related, most of my friends who I still talk to, yes, I do have friends, most of my friends that I talk to back in my hometown, they start telling me that I probably will not marry a Korean woman, and that I'll probably marry somebody who's not Korean. I think I just said the same sentence twice. That happens once in a while, even though, I get it, some people have told me, oh, for a second language, you're pretty good at English, but it's still my second language, I still fuck up. But apparently when I talk in Korean, I talk with an accent. So basically when I talk in Korean, I talk like an American who learned Korean as a second language, which is fucked up in so many different ways. When I heard about that really fucked with my mentality. So every time that I spoke Korean after I heard that, I was always I started to become aware of my accent, and I was like, whoa, I do talk like that. That's weird. What the fuck happened? What did my parents do wrong? Clearly this is my parents' fault. Whenever I mention an obscure band or an obscure movie, they're like, oh, you're probably not gonna marry a fucking Korean. Even though statistically speaking, I probably will. But I don't get it. Like, they don't understand that I also, in fact, grew up in Korea. Like, 95% of the girls that I met in real life, including women who were much older than me, that I had crushes on, were all Korean. I had a crush on my math teacher, who was 37 years old. I was probably 17. I thought she was one of the prettiest women I've ever seen in my whole life. She kind of looked like Audrey Hepburn. That could always just be in my head, but still. She had 2 kids, which was definitely the reason why I realized that it's not gonna happen. But still, there's this one girl, because my mom's an English teacher, and she was teaching this girl who was just, the fact that this girl existed and that I knew of her existence, and at the same time that I was insecure, all of that was just totally unfair. Like, this girl was insane. Like, how did this happen? Like, you start questioning life because this girl was so hot. Like, you know, I was being a creep all the time. Whenever she passed me by, I would like look at her legs and I'll be like, oh my god, why can't I fucking talk to her? And one day, I won like the first prize at this like essay writing competition. And I guess my mom was like really proud of me, and she was telling everybody, it was like, oh my god, my son won this award. And this girl, alongside being hot, was also like a really nice person, which obviously made her more attractive. But she was like a really nice person, even though we've had like maybe 2 or 3 conversations before. And you know, conversations is a very big word. It was mostly me just going, her just going, hi, and I'll be like, hi, and then it ends. But she came up to me, and she was like, oh, congratulations about the prize. And unfortunately, she talked to me just around when I was in my being overly cynical phase. So I was not. This was the part of my life that I started. This was when I started to become like really bad at taking compliments. So I was like, oh, I don't know, and I was just being this asshole, this dark, depressed, gloomy asshole. And she obviously was smart enough to not, you know, engage with me after that. These fucking phases, man, they're the worst. You know what, I think whenever I look back upon my previous year of living, I realized that I was very dumb. And, you know, a few years back, I thought this was proof of me becoming a much more mature person, because I can look back on myself and realize that I was stupid. Now I can become better. But then recently I realized, I'm constantly realizing that I was stupid the previous year, because I'm making the same mistakes over and over and over again, and I'm not becoming more mature. I'm in fact just walking in circles, telling myself that I'm becoming more mature. And when I realized this, it really fucking got to me, and I'm trying to become a better person. And I think we can all strive to be better. You know, stop eating pizza, eat more sweet potatoes, you know, more environmentally healthy stuff. You know, speaking of girls, I think I'm realizing that Mean Girls, the movie, is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, that realization has been slowly accumulating through time. And I loved the movie the first time I watched it. But, you know, there was like a phase, you know, for me when I became really pretentious, and I was like, oh, that's not as good as Ingmar Bergman and fucking Federico Fellini and all these old and dead people. But then there was a point where I was like, okay, I need to like accept the fact that I can like fund things too. And I think when it comes to the mid-2000s teen high school movie stuff, you know, stuff like Wild Child with Emma Roberts, or basically almost all of the Amanda Bynes films, when you compare it to all of that, Mean Girls is easily, not only just like the best movie amongst all of it, but like that movie's like easily one of the best comedies of that era. Like when I look back on it, like I go, we're still making memes about this movie, we're still quoting this, we're still like some of it's very over exaggerated, but some of like the tropes that they like make fun of in that movie, it's all true. Like we still have like groups of people within, you know, within communities when it comes to schools. And I just like look back on it, and that's really the movie that made me more of a mature person when it comes to liking certain films. Like that was the movie that made me realize that every single one of the films that I love, that every single films that I consider my favorites, don't need to be these like deep, thought-provoking classics. No, it can be a fucking Lindsay Lohan movie. Yeah, that definitely kind of like it kind of gives you an idea of how to live life. I've been going to therapy a lot recently, and I think it's a good thing mostly. I feel like the key to really nailing therapy and not having like a breakdown in the middle of your sessions is to not think too much about the fact that you're paying somebody to listen to you. That's very important not to think about, even though like I'm being careful about saying it even right now, but it's very important not to think about that, because the second you think about that, you become, it's so depressing. It's so depressing. It's just, I shouldn't even talk about it, man. This one time when I was like walking up, because my therapist works at a church, and there's this big little pathway going up the church, and I was like walking up the pathway, and I heard like really loud giggling from behind me, like somebody going, and then I heard like really loud footsteps, and I was like starting to panic, like, am I gonna die right now? Is somebody gonna fucking shank me in the middle of the street? And then this kid, this really slim, tall teenage boy walked past me and started like prancing and sprinting up the path and going and like flailing his arms all over and going and then I realized that both of us, that kid and me, were going to the same building. And that made me like really think about where I was in life. Like, oh my god, like, you know, for somebody from the outside, that guy and me are within the same realm of people. I am basically that dude. It doesn't matter if I'm like walking with like my headphones on. If somebody sees both of us walking up that pathway, we're basically the same people. That's also something that you should try not to think about. I'm like I should be writing I'm like writing this essay about rap music, about how rap music affects racial tension or whatever, which is a very weird essay to write in Korea, considering that most of the population is Korean and Asian. Even though like we do have racist stuff happening here, like it would be a lie to say if we're like so fucking race free here. Like we have slang terms for races here too. Like we have a racial slang term for like specifically attractive white women. And if we have a racial slang for attractive white women, you bet your ass we're gonna have a racial slang for every single fucking person out there. God, I'm done. I'm getting sweaty. This room is way too hot without the air conditioner on, and when I turn on the air conditioner, it's way too loud, and I probably have to go back on the essay again. This was a good talk. We should do this again sometime, you and me. Preferably some place that I am less miserable in. I should I should probably edit that out. That was like sad for no reason. I'm trying not to do that. I feel like I'm doing that a lot in my videos. Bye. That's much more of a clean end. Bye.